Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your morning motivation this morning. Um, just walked 6 miles. Well, it actually was 5.99 miles on my tracker that I stopped it at. So officially, I'm gonna call it 6 miles because I still got some walking before I get back to the hotel. So just my last day in Oklahoma. Decided to go for a little walk, exploring. I took a few turns here and there, a little different, and before I know it was up to the 6 miles. So that's how life is. It's a big adventure. It's a journey. Enjoy it. So this is my last day in Oklahoma. Kind of bittersweet. Um, Although it's nothing here now. My daughter's here, so it's like my heart is here as well. So it's a bittersweet because um, dropping her off here. She's about to explore the next part of her life. Um, of young adulthood, navigating and going through life, on her own terms, and um, it's different. Parenting adults. I have her older sister, and that's back in Destiny's, that's back in Lansing, with my grandson. So I'll still have kids around, but when your kids start to branch out and leave the nest, it's a transition period from um, telling kids exactly what to do, to advising them what they should do, but allowing them to still make the decisions on what they ultimately decide to do. Because each person is their own individual. So, kind of bittersweet. Be leaving her here tomorrow. She'll navigate through their first duty station and get situated. So, um, yeah, spending the last day here. And I also think this is going to be my last day on this walking wounded. As I was walking today, um, there's a lot of things that went across my mind, and one of them mainly was repeated was perspective. Um, and I know I've been mentioning it before, but I think it's time to change my perspective on some things. So, this walking wounded, although it was true, although it was facts, I would say it wasn't true. And I say that because you can have facts without being true, meaning that you can fail without being a failure. And there's some elements in my life that I have failed in, but I'm far from a failure. Get this thing right. So this is just about your perspective on how you view things. So, um, am I wounded? Yeah, that's a fact. My leg is still not at a point where I can run on it, and like I said, I got my doctor's appointment coming up in a few weeks. Um, but instead of acknowledging it from a hurt perspective, I'm gonna start acknowledging it from a healing perspective. I'm healing, so instead of focusing on what I don't have or what I can't do, change my perspective on what I am and what I can do. So no more walking wounded. Um, Now I'm about to start walking in my healing, and then I'd already got um, the segue to my next series of video, which is rehabilitation and restoration. So, and that's in line. It was just a confirmation today that it's time to change my perspective on some things and not be dwelling in the things that are wrong, but um, take joy in the things that are going right. Like I am better today than I was when I first injured my leg, meaning that when it first happened, I could barely walk. There's pain. So there's elements of me improving and healing. But yeah, I was still confessing my wounds and going through that process of trying to recover. So there may be some things in your life, and I guess that's your message for today, is redefine your life, redefine you, and how you're viewing yourself. Um, as I mentioned before, I struggle with validation, and some things that I do. Sometimes I be wanting a pat on the back or be wanting attention for. And as I was walking today, I got a comforting thing in my spirit that said, um, "There's nothing wrong with me desiring validation. Validation is not my issue. Um, it's who I look to for that validation. You know, um, it was encouraging me to validate myself. You know, to speak well of myself, and that was kind of like that change of perspective of from saying you wounded to saying you're healing. Um, it's the same. I'm in the same state. I'm in the same position. My body is feeling the same, but my confession is changing. So there's nothing wrong with validation. There's nothing wrong with needing that pat on the back. But sometimes you gotta do it yourself. Encourage yourself, and be there to speak words of life, because words have meaning. When you're wounded, everything that hurts um, validates and reminds you of how wounded and broken you are, and it can keep you there. And not to say that I was staying defeated, because I think the Lord shared His grace on me, and that allowed me um, to be downcast and distraught. Um, but at the same time, it's like those words have meaning. Like when you say you wounded, as I was beginning to say, every pain validates that, you know, and you can stay in there longer than what you're supposed to be. Um, but when you confess you're healed, or that you're healing, every step encourage you that you're moving forward. So it's just about a matter of perspective, and I'm not sure if that makes sense to you, but it made a lot of sense to me when it was being revealed to me, and I guess that's who it was for. So if you get some collateral benefit off that, then glory to God for that. But I know I've kind of received um, my direction is to change my speech about myself and what I'm doing and who I'm becoming and the things that I need to incorporate into my life. It comes from a changed mindset. You know, it talks about, he that is in Christ is a new creation. Um, Old things are passed away, all things have become new. And the thing is about me is like, I don't know if I wanted the old things to pass away. I think I just wanted to clean up some old things and make them look new again. But the reality of it is, it's like you can't go backwards. You can just learn from the past mistakes and move forward. So there's this element of people who um, that want to live the best life, and I know we're back on that again. Um, no, I'm not going to even mess around with that best life mess. But anyways, it's an element of trying to make up for lost time. Um, Carpe diem, kind of seize the day, seize the moment, sort of thing, and people want to just glory in that. But the reality of it is that each moment is fresh, is new, and the last one is a memory. Um, it's the past, you know, and we're in the present, and tomorrow is your gift. It's a gift. Like I hope I get to open that gift of tomorrow, but if I don't, what will I do today in the present? Turn your present into your gift, and that's where I'm about to start narrowing it down and changing my perspective, because I am a pursuer. I do chase goals. I do chase a lot of things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes you got to enjoy the journey and appreciate some things. And while you may struggle, you may have a hard time doing this or that. Um, it's part of the road that you need to travel to get there. So encourage yourself. Like those who may be struggling for validation. I'm not sure if you all who listen to this are still on social media. Um, do an azimuth check and see where you are. Are you moving in the same direction? Are you moving differently? And do you need to move differently? Is the way you move in productive for you? You know, or is it time to take a pause and change course? In aviation, when we're flying, you know, it may seem like they're very precise on the direction we travel, because if you're off like 1 degree, it may not seem like a lot. It may seem like, hey, that's 1 degree. I should be able to still reach my target. But in aviation, when you're flying so high, 1 degree over the course of miles, over the course of your destination, can put you off course um, hundreds of miles. So you can be off course thinking like it's close enough. No, you need to get it right, and make sure that you do that azimuth check and make sure that you're on target. Because if not, you can navigate through life and you're thinking you're just a few degrees off and you're good enough, and then you get to the end and you think that you're close to your goal, and you'll be hundreds of miles away and be feeling like you wandered and not accomplished anything. So it's necessary, and that's why in aviation, when we're navigating, we do spot checks. We do our math. We calculate our fuel usage and burn, how much fuel we're using. We double check our azimuth to make sure it's right, and then we do a map recon, because there's some things, indication along the way should let you know if you're on course or not. And I'll give you a quick story. Part of the navigation piece of me going through flight school, I was instructed to navigate. So my instructor pilot is flying, and I have to tell him which direction to go. So I'm looking at the map, and I'm telling him, and I said, "Hey, turn left." And then he just kept flying straight. I says, "Turn left," and he just kept flying straight. So in the third time I said, "Turn left," he said, "When do you want me to turn left?" And I says, "Right now." And instead of him turning left, he turned right, and says, "Right now." So he was trying to make a point to me, and his point being is communicate explicitly. Mean what you say and say what you mean. Like when I told him to turn left, I should have say, in such amount of kilometers turn left, or But when I told him turn left, and he didn't reply after the third time, and I said right now, he turned right, and then he got me all off course trying to explain to me what I did wrong. And the thing was about it, he says, when you said right now, I don't know if there's something dangerous that you've seen. It could be a bird or something like that, but you gave me a direction to turn and a time to do it. So I turned right now. And after he gave me this long lecture about what I did wrong, now I'm many miles off course, and I have to try to figure out how to get back on course on there. So the thing about that is, like, some distractions, and some it can be, you can be your own distraction, and you can get yourself off course by what you're saying. So you need to sit down and take a pause and realize, like, are you moving in the right direction? Do you need to get back on azimuth and on course? And it's okay if you're off course. Just don't make it a lifestyle. Moses and them wandered in the wilderness for 40 years off course, for somewhere that should have taken them less than a year to get there. But they learned a valuable lesson in there. My encouragement to you is to stop now and to figure out, are you on course? And if you're off course, change your perspective. Don't beat yourself up and say, "Woe's me, I'm so stupid. How could I get this far off course?" Celebrate the fact that you acknowledge that you are, and begin there. Start speaking well of yourself. I used to do it back in the day, and I'm gonna have to reinstitute it. I used to have a little 3x5 card that I placed in my mirror in the morning that says, "I am a great man, and I'm a great pilot, I'm a great leader," and it just had all kind of affirmation statements in there, just to remind myself that I am a king. I am someone. Because if you wait for the world to build you up and to tell you who you are, you'll be who they want you to be, and you will only be validated for what they deem is applicable to validate. But the truth of it is, it's like, you got to validate yourself. You got to encourage yourself. You got to get to a point in your life where you are enough. You are created by the Most High in His image. So not accepting you is an indictment not only on who you are, but who created you. Saying, "God, you didn't make me good enough." And the reality of it is that you are good enough, just as you are. And we talked about yesterday about the difference of being complacent. Complacent is saying, like, this is who I always will be, and just woe is me, and this just accept your lot in life. But contentment, you can be content with who you are and still desire to grow. And I think that's where I'm at right now. It's like learning to be content with who I am. And from the outside looking in, like I said, as I say in a lot of videos, I understand why a lot of people don't do this hard research on themselves, because, man, this shit is hard. I mean, it's easier to fake it till you make it, to go out and self-medicate. can go buy a new car. And I do kind of get that new car Jones in me, out shopping with a car for my daughter. Got me thinking I don't need a new car scent smell in my life, but I'm gonna be disciplined and not go get a new car. But having the ability to do it and then not do it, that restraint and constraint, um, it's a lot. So I'm gonna fight through this urge and realize that stay with the car I have. I don't need any more debt. And the exact opposite, what we were just talking about the other day on Black Wall Street, is like getting back to the essence of black wealth, and black excellence, and being a good steward of my money. So even though I do desire to go get a new car, I won't do it. At least I hope I don't do it. I'm not going to say I'm not going to do it, and then later down the line in a few weeks you hear me talking about I just got a new car. But I'm gonna try to refrain from that and get back into some debt reduction. But it's just this rehab and restoration process that's is going on. So I'm asking you to redefine yourself and to question, where you are, but don't question who you are. Who you are is different. That's when you start to make indictments on you, and like, why am I this way? I'm so stupid, and it can be a self-defeating conversation. I'm asking you to celebrate who you are. Do a SWOT analysis. When I was going to school, they got this thing called SWOT, SWOT, and it calls for strength. It's the S. The W is for do an analysis of your weakness. The O, your opportunities, and then the T is your threats. So just kind of when you do your SWOT analysis, do an inventory of your strengths. Where are you strong at? Where do you excel at? Where are you great? Where do you need to be placed at in order to be flourish? And you do all that of your strengths, and then after you catalog all your strengths, where are you weak at? Where do you struggle at? Where are some areas in your life that needs to be developed and to be matured and to grow, in order for you to reach your goals. And then after you do your weaknesses, um, where are there opportunities for you at? In your current situation, in your current job, in your current relationship, where are the opportunities for you to flourish and for you to take advantage of? And then the T, like, what are your threats? And one of those threats could be yourself. You can be your biggest threat, how you talk to yourself and how you, um, speak of yourself. Do you speak well? Or do you put yourself down? And or be more encouraging to yourself. If you're going to encourage someone, encourage yourself. So I guess I'm going on 17 minutes or 18 minutes of rambling. And the scripture that came to my mind today was 1 Samuel 30. In that whole chapter, if you want to go back and read the whole chapter, I probably won't be able to recount it by memory. But it's a story of David and the Amalekites. Um, they had came in while David and the men were out. The Amalekites came in and they raided and they burned down this town and everything. And after 3 days, David and the men came back, and all their wives and children were gone. Now they burned down the town, but they didn't murder anyone. They just took captive all the women and children. So when the men came back, they were very distressed and they were upset, and they wept, and then they started transition from weeping to getting mad at David, blaming him for them being away and then not being able to protect their family. So they were thinking about stoning David and taking their anger out on him. Now, David didn't cause the calamity, but he was to blame for it. So they wanted to take all the pressure out on him. And in Samuel 30 verses 6, it talks about that. And it says David had to encourage himself in the Lord. And that was really powerful because it's like the people around him wasn't encouraging him. They were blaming him, they were belittling him, and they even wanted to cause physical harm to him. So he had to get to a point where he had to sit back and encourage himself. And, he called in for the priest, and then he asked the Lord, shall I pursue them? And if I pursue them, meaning the enemy, will I capture all? And God spoke to him, said, you shall pursue them and you will recapture all. So after he encouraged himself, he got about his father's business and he went and pursued what he was supposed to pursue. And it concludes in that chapter, and it talks about David when he caught them, that he slayed them from dusk of one day to dawn of the next. I mean, he was kicking ass and taking names, so to speak, um, up and down, just handling business, and recovered all. Um, and I bring that up because as I was walking, I was like, you know what happens if he didn't encourage himself? If he was to stay low and stay in that spot of being defeated, and everybody around him was agreeing um, that he was down, you know. So what you do in those moments when other people are against you will determine if you recover all. And he gave us some good tips in there. The first thing, he went to the Lord and he asked the Lord, what shall he do? So um, that is what my encouragement to you is to encourage yourself. So I'm not encouraging you. I want you to encourage yourself, because that's kind of the journey that I'm on now. It's like just rebranding and redefining who I am. There's some things that I want to change in my life, and in order for them to change, change starts within. You know, I can't allow external things to deter me anymore. There is a battle that's going on in me, and there was a saying that says sometimes he says my biggest enemy is my inner me. I mean, like, really, what you're struggling with is something inside you, and no matter what you do externally, no matter what somebody says, the true battle is within. And that's what you have to conquer. You know, Michael Jackson had that song "Man in the Mirror," talking about making a change, and his whole message was starting with the man in the mirror, starting with you. So, if you want to change the world you live in, um, change yourself, change the world within you. Like, your perspective of how you look at things, maybe that needs to change. Maybe how you speak needs to change. Maybe how you walk needs to change. Maybe how you dress needs to change. All those are different things. And I'm not saying changes to change yourself to assimilate or to be like someone else, but because you're uniquely different. So do some things that celebrate your uniqueness, and that's what I'm going to do. There's a few things in mind that I have changed. Like I said, this is the conclusion of this Walking Wounded series, um, and we're going to move into a different phase in life. And it's not just um, in word, but it's going to be in deed. There's some things that I know I want to do to become better. I realized, like, during the process of injuries, my diet is got out of control, and I've been servant to the desires of foods of my flesh wants. So I'm going to police up my diet, and I'm not trying to say I'm going to go vegan or vegetarian or something like that, but I'm going to make that process of being more healthy and eating. So that might be a struggle because I love ribs, I love steaks. And matter of fact, I think today, and I've been driving around Oklahoma. It's a little detour, whatever. But in Oklahoma and Texas, all you see is these cows and stuff, cattle walking in yards on big farms. So I think I'm gonna go find me a butcher today and get me a fat steak, a ribeye, you know, marbled fat in there. So kind of celebrate the Feast of Kings for the change. Um, but eventually, I'm going to change the diet, and I think for me, my perspective is like, I think anything in moderation. You know, um, there's a lot of health experts that's probably a little more knowledgeable about diets than me, but I think if you do things in moderation, you should be all right. But the issue is that my moderation has been out of balance. Like, I've been eating too many red meats and too many fatty stuff, and especially in a state where um, I haven't been able to run and exercise like I used to do. So my cardio is down some. So when your cardio's down and your eating is up, sometimes the weight goes up with it. So I notice in my face it's getting a little fatter and stuff like that. That I'll get back in shape and be more disciplined with my diet. But the other thing is just like um, my hygiene, taking it to another level. And when I say hygiene, no, I'm always smelling good and, have the cologne on point. But I even want to go to another level of, like, I think I'm going to start taking baths once a week. just slowing down enough to treat myself to a bath once a week. So this journey of redefining is going to be ongoing. I got my physical coming up. Go to the dentist. I'm about to really define. I'm supposed to wear glasses too, and I don't wear them. But maybe that's part of the thing I start doing as well. Go get my eyes checked again. Start sleeping better. Going to bed at a reasonable hour. That way I can replenish my body with rest. There's a saying that says, rest is not a break from productivity, it's a part of it. So I understand, like, this next season I'm in, that I need to give my body rest and be able to allow it to replenish itself so I can embark on whatever it is that I need to endure for this upcoming walk that I have. So that's a lot of rambling going on. But if you got anything from it, I want to really uh, say that you need to encourage yourself. There's going to be times where people walk away from you, or that people talk down on you, and that you have opportunity to agree with them or to be. So, um, and that's where I'm at. Be, you know, um, if you look at us from the simplistic point of view, we are human beings. We're not human doings. A lot of people will want to define themselves by what they do, and there is an element of your actions will reflect who you are, but there's also a point where you got to realize you need to be who you are and not do who you are. Um, be in the present, be in the moment. So um, today, find something, some space, carve out some time to sit back and think. Um, where are you going? You know, um, who you going with? So because if you don't take the time to sit back and realize that when you get there, this is where you were intended to go in the first place, or are you just hoping that accidentally you bump into some success, or you think accidentally you're gonna bump into a healthy relationship, or you think accidentally you're gonna be the king that you were called to be. It doesn't happen by accident. This is an intentional endeavor, and if you don't exercise that intention, um, you'll be wandering lost. You'll be looking back with regret and wondering, how did I get here? So take that time today to calm down out of the busyness of life and really assess where you're going, where you are, and then start planning out and mapping out your journey. And realize along the way there may be some times you have to walk alone. You know, um, there will be some people that will walk out, and it's okay. That's not um, to discourage you. That to encourage you that you're doing the right thing, because we talked about on a few other videos, like, the path to destruction is wide, um, and the path that you need to travel is narrow. Like, there's sometimes you're going to have to walk alone, and because it's only you. Some things God created only for you to do, and no one else will be able to assist you with that. Now, for those who do have a cheering crowd and cheerleaders around them, I'm not hating on you. There will be seasons in your life where people will celebrate you, but never let someone um, discourage you to a point where you can't celebrate yourself. And I'll close on this. I remember going out to lunch one day with some sergeant majors and some other officers, and we were going out to lunch. We were doing some inspections, so we were away from town, out of town, and we walk into a restaurant, and they ordered steaks, ribeye steaks, and I mean, it's lunchtime. I'm like, man, that's too heavy for lunch, So they ordered ribeye steaks and mashed potatoes and all this stuff, and I ordered me a little wrap, a chicken wrap or something of that nature. But at the end of the meal, when we got when the waitress came by, and she let us know that somebody had paid our bill for us. And I remember how I felt at that moment. I was like, man, I should have ordered me a steak. If I knew somebody was going to pay that bill, I would have ordered more than this little chicken wrap, you know. And I would never forget the words that Sergeant Major Rousseau told me. He said, hey, sir, he said, if you weren't going to buy it for yourself, why would you expect some other people to buy it for you? In essence, he was saying, like, don't let nobody else treat you better than you treat yourself. Like, for him, he was going to eat that steak whether somebody paid for it or not. If he had to pay for it, he was still going to eat that steak. And in my thing, I wanted that steak if somebody else was going to pay for it. So, lesson learned is like, don't let nobody treat you better than you treat yourself. And I'm not asking you to walk around and be arrogant and to think like you walk on water. But at the same time, don't be drowning in it either. You know, swim, you know. And sometimes you got to swim underwater. Sometimes the water may get in your nose. But at the same time, don't let nobody treat you better than you. So you have a great day, young king. Be blessed.